What's up, guys? Hopefully, you can hear me okay. I'm going to talk about. Wait, did it go through? Okay. Yeah, I think I'm live. So, do you guys know what bibliomancy is? This is the idea that Christians use it a lot, actually. It's a form of magic that Christians use a lot whenever they need inspiration in a hard time in their life. And of course, Christians don't actually ever read the Bible from cover to cover because most of them are just lip service Christians. But whenever they need bolstering in life because of hard times, they flip to a random page in the Bible and see if it speaks to them. They see if something they read reflects something that's going on in their life at that moment. They think there's this connectivity, this spirit, if you wanted to call it that, this force, this, I guess Kabbalists would call it the Yasod, this permeating vitality that is above our realm, but we are a reflection of. It's a magical force. It is what there's. It's one of the three fundamental parts of magic. This interweaving force that binds us all together and is timeless. You could call it the Akashic records. You could call it the perfect land from Egyptian mysticism and spirituality and magic. This is a land where every spirit that exists on planet Earth, every being, was reflected in this realm in a timeless fashion, as well as all of your thoughts. So that everything had a copy of itself that was timeless and perfect that lived outside of this realm, and this realm was a mere shadow of. This is the allegory of Plato's cave. People misinterpret that. The idea of Plato's cave is that these people are chained up against a wall. They can't see the three-dimensional realm. They can only see two-dimensional shadows cast on the wall. And whenever they're freed from this cave, they go outside into the three-dimensional world and realize they live in a three-dimensional world. The world that is above us, this Yasod force, this, it's been called so many different things in so many different cultures. But this, most commonly to the occultists, is called astral light. This binding of everything and everyone together, as well as being represented in a plane that is more substantial, possibly a fourth dimensional realm, as Carl Sagan would say. Well, Christians, whenever they flip in the Bible and are performing bibliomancy, they're assuming this fact to be true, that this realm is connected to that other realm, the astral realm, which is an unfortunate name because it's not luminous nor is it of the stars. It is this unseen web, really. The underweb would be, or the inner web would be a, well, that's kind of fitting. I like it how we create things in these patterns, that we create things in our own image, literally creating the internet, which is this force that is unseen in the form of Wi-Fi that connects all these computers together. This force that is unseen and connects everything together is the internet. We're creating the internet in our own image, the image of the spirit, whereas the computer is created in the image of our brain, and the robot body is created in the image of the human body, the humanoid form, bipedal, two arms, two legs, etc. We are literally recreating ourselves in our own image, just as God supposedly did. See, this is another aspect of Hermetic magic, is that time is not linear, as the Western culture surmise. It is not cyclical, as the Mayans, Aztecs, Olmecs, etc. surmised in Paleo Mesoamerica. It is a spiral. Time repeats itself, but it changes, it grows, it rhymes. It doesn't operate in the fashion that you think it does. It operates according to the laws of entropy and, most importantly, this idea that is the second principle of magic. The first being that there is this luminous web that connects us all together. This, like I said, astral light is what they call it. Luminous is not exactly the right word to use because it doesn't shine in this realm, but a lot of mystics and occultists have referred to it as a light. In fact, once you've obtained the ability to become part of that astral realm, you inherit a light body or a rainbow garment or the coat of many colors, as Joseph called it in the Bible. This is all over Tibetan mysticism as well. So this is the first principle, that there is this interconnectedness, this timelessness, this fourth dimensional reality which permeates and interconnects us and stores all of us in this Akashic field, this bubble of ecto-thought. The second principle, or the second fundamental of magic, or like occultism, would be that there is a relation between that realm and ours, that there, as above, so below, if you want to put it in the first Hermetic law, the law of correspondence, which Eliphas Levi said that no matter how many mystics he talked to, he would never disband that often laughed at occult, magical, Hermetic law, because it applies and it allows you to transcend into that astral plane that is discussed in the first fundamental of magic. So there's this law of correspondence, there's this rhyme between that world and our world. There is influence. This is what the magician seeks to do, is to be able to interpret that astral realm, we'll call it, in means that are sensible, meaning perceptible by your senses in this realm. This could be anything from tarot cards or a crystal ball, trying to link that realm with our realm through what is the third fundamental of magic, which is your ability to use your will to manipulate or to intuit that extra Templar realm that is unseen all around us. And like I said, this is a fourth dimensional realm. And if you want to go Carl Sagan, then this is a dimension outside of time-space. This is where all time exists as one complete structure. A bubble that has multiple bubbles stuck to the side of it, which are essentially the multiverse. This is because events within the universe aren't stagnant. They are constantly in fluctuation because of causality and free will. Free will being the third principle of magic, that you can use your will in order to influence the world around you by tapping into what is the first fundamental of magic, that there is a spirit realm around us that is connecting everything and timeless. Akashic. So the magician can intuit the will of this force and also exert his will upon this force, being forceful himself. A lot of people think that a magician or a wizard is someone who, when going down whitewater rapids, going down a swift river, can cause the water to stop or to switch directions or to slow down or to soften the rocks that he might get crushed against. That's not the case at all. The magician does not do that. The river being this Akashic force. The magician can learn how, through his will, to move himself, to avoid the rocks, but still the force is there, the flow is there. You can't escape it. It's gravity. The next level of magician, beyond just being able to adjust yourself in the water to avoid rocks. Like I said, you can't stop the river, but you can move the river. You can move the river in a way that it appears to the onlooker that it never existed in the original place to begin with. This is what I call dimensional jumping or multiverse hopping, whatever you want to call it. This is what creates the Mandela effect. The ability to shift your perception from one reality that is made up in the causal network to a close multiverse within the causal framework, which exists because of free will. There is no free will and there is no destiny. There is this combination, which is literally the Akashic field that's all around us. So by tapping into this, by doing things that go against the programming of this matrix around us, by shifting our narrative, our own personal narrative, to something that is against the cult mentality, the culture, by shifting outside of that reality, by tapping into things that allow you to interpret the will of that unseen reality and also influence that unseen reality to move the river itself, you have to break norms. You have to be unperceptible to the universe, hidden from it. The Gnostics talked about this a lot. Whenever you inherit your rainbow garment, whenever you become glimmering, so to speak, whenever you inherit that, you become off-grid. Every choice you make that is against the programming that has been put inside of you by Mother Culture shifts reality. Not everyone, but the most important ones, and the ones that you are almost impossible to predict. For instance, just making random sounds of blah, 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 and clapping. There's very few universes that I did that. I just caused reality to jump. This is because free will and destiny have to interlink. And whenever you move from one position in the web to the other, most of the time reality and those players in reality, we'll call the people who fail to participate through enforcing their own will into this Akashic field, NPCs, non-player characters. Whereas you are a player character if you're watching this video. You are seeking to interact with that Akashic field, learn from it, and influence it in ways to benefit your own personal spiritual growth. If you're doing this, you are an active participant. You are a player character. The decisions you make influence the game around you, the simulation. See, everything that you could do in a game has already been planned out and guessed at. There are certain bounds to this game and physics, and there have been many playtesters that have come and died before you. They know the realm of the game. They know the grid. They know how the system works. They know how these physics work, how these atoms work, how these senses work. They know how the game works. They know the coding. Once you discover how the coding of the game works, you can change the game. You can change the code. You can influence the Matrix. This is what the whole Matrix is about. It's a Gnostic story. I mean, there's a reason why Morpheus, King of Dreams, and Trinity from Neo himself, the magician is able to influence this realm and make changes through changing the base code of reality. The way you do this is by being a player character. Sometimes you make decisions that the computer cannot anticipate. Like I said, the random blah, 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 blah. These are things that the universe doesn't assume you're going to do because they're random. Most people just wake up, go to work, come home, have dinner, watch some TV, go to sleep, wake up, have a shower, pack themselves a lunch, go to work, talk to the same friends every day. These are routines. These are ruts. These are grooves in the record. The needle stays in that groove. Whenever someone does something that jostles that, what happens to the needle? It jumps. Same thing happens with the multiverse. You jump. If you do something that is unpredicted, that causes you to slip out, you are literally changing realities. If a being does this through time travel and is literally the ubiquitous matter that surrounds us and gave birth to us, then the force would be so dramatic that the entire population would experience these jumps, changes to the timeline, changes to the multiverse. Because all time happens simultaneously. There is no moment but the present. There is nothing but the now. That is all there is. Man, I swear, that light keeps turning off by itself. So, influencing this Akashic field that is all around you, this is the grand goal of the magician. To, like I said, not stop the water or change the flow of the river itself. The river's going to keep moving. You just change which way it flows off the mountain, and no one's the wiser. It was always like that, because time happens all at once. That's all it is. There is one timeline, one reality where we have no moon. That reality exists still, but now we have a moon. How did that happen? Quantum physics, specifically quantum computers. What's up, Claire Bear? Specifically, quantum computers can tap into this multiversal network, this Akashic field, where all time happens simultaneously and they exist in, like I said, connected, linked bubbles, basically. Things like D-Wave, quantum computers, literally line up all their quarks and assume that all the other multiversal realities that also have quantum computers are doing the same thing, and they see which ones twitch on and off, or up and down, since they're quarks. This is how quantum computing works. This is how you can take a question that would take literally 10,000 years for a regular processor, and D-Wave can do it in a second. Because it's processing outside of time-space. It's processing within this esoteric Akashic field, this occult membrane, which every magician and magic practitioner and religious practitioner as well. You got to realize that religions and magic are very much the same thing. The Catholic who goes to light a candle because her child is sick is doing this to amplify the power of her will. They also do this through things like tantras, mantras, and prayer out loud. And this is done also communally, sometimes surrounded by symbols, numbers, everything from veiled gestures to the position of certain key symbols within the room. All of these things are meant to amplify your ability for your will to affect the Akashic field that is timeless around you. If you can amplify your will, and every magician has done this, well, most magicians have done this through artificial means in the past, not just through the what would be considered a traditional mystic point of view, like asceticism, or the Buddha, for example. But the Catholic lighting the candle is practicing magic as well. This is increasing your ability for your will to influence the reality around you by tapping in to the Akashic field. So these are the three fundamental principles of magic. One, that there is an Akashic field around us. Two, that there is a correlation between that Akashic field and reality, the sensible reality that you perceive right now as you're watching this video. The things you see, smell, hear, touch, taste, that is it. These are the 5 trees of paradise spoken of in the Gospel of Thomas, as well as actual physical trees, but that's a different video for a different day. These are the 5 trees that allow you to perceive reality, which is paradise, because reality is not just this realm. This is the third rung in a
Power off.
Power off. I wonder what that meant. 254. It's 2:54 in the morning right now. And I'm at 13% battery, by the way. Okay, so yeah, second fundamental of magic is that you can influence that, or that there is a causality, a metaphor, an analogy between those two realms, that one rhymes with the other. That there are grooves to multiple records. The third, that through your will, through your power of consciousness, which can be directed through many things. You can have many different focuses or no focus at all. Everything from repeating a word to having a religious symbol that you would hold, or this is extremely potent in things like ceremonial magic or spell casting, where you have to have multiple things that you concentrate on that are added together. This is an amplification of your ability to will change in reality or interpret changes to reality, either past, present, or future, through interpreting and attaching to the Akashic field, or like I said, astral light, if you want to call it that. The kingdom of heaven, if you are a Christian, Yesod, if you're Jewish or Kabbalist, the perfect world, if you're ancient Egyptian. These ideas that heaven and earth are connected together, and you can achieve heaven while on earth, is very well established in many religions. And as Christ said, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven unless you first step into it while living on planet Earth. You have to have one foot in the doorway. Otherwise, you never see it. You'll just repeat the process over again. Because if you don't create heaven on earth, it doesn't ever exist. It's a state of mind. You have to die in that state of mind in order to inherit it, in order to climb the ladder, so to speak. Whenever you get to higher densities of reality, I'm not talking about dimensional states of being, I'm talking about densities of reality, we would be in a flux state, right on the tipping point. We are this close to realizing how the universe works temporally. It's permeating within our culture because it's meant to. You got to realize that you're not the only beings on planet Earth that are influencing the Akashic field. Everything has sentience. Everything. The Shinto believe that even rocks have spirit. That inorganic material has spirit, and this is true. It came from the same roaring cauldron of the universe stars that everything else came from. The atoms that compose it still have electrons that are spinning at 99.9% the speed of light in a rock. A rock is spinning at 99.9% the speed of light right now. The electrons within it. Think about that. That rock that can't move is moving at the speed of light. That you are literally light slowed down in a field. How's that any different than a hologram? How's that any different than a shadow being cast? It's not. We are in a programmed reality. But it's not like you were put in a fucking pod by some robots in the future. That's not the case. The universe has always been digital. It has always been binary. It has always been as above, so below. And the transition from out of that state is the destruction of duality. And coming to realize that the middle path, the junction between these two states of being positive and negative, 1 and 0, masculine and feminine, up and down, black and white, good and evil, the middle path, the crossroads in the middle of the figure eight, that's where you have to be in order to jump off. In this way, the heart chakra is a stargate. And the stargate isn't opening up a different position to a different star. It's opening up a different reality in the multiverse that you are literally swimming through. Certain realities die when they become no longer feasible for the prime reality to shift into. These would be things that we couldn't experience anymore because they've passed beyond our causal limit. They are no longer within our reach. The spider has 8 legs, so it can reach out in the web very far from the middle. That's why it sits in the middle. In very many directions. North, south, east, west, and then the in-betweens. This is the 8-pointed star of Ishtar. The spider can reach out in many directions. However, when in the very center, it cannot reach all the way to the corners. Those corners are realities that no longer have the ability to be influenced by us. Realities in which all life on Earth was destroyed, or there was more antimatter than matter whenever the Big Bang happened, and thus stars never formed, or in which the laws of thermodynamics were slightly different, or when hydrogen atoms just couldn't form. And there's all sorts of realities that are no longer able for us to shift into because they're beyond the spider's reach. They're beyond our causal framework. We are the spider. We can only reach so far from the middle of the web, but we move very far. We move as much as we can through choices that we make. For instance, if I want to shift reality, I have a very limited ability to do so. In our reality, they say money moves mountains, and that's very fucking true. Jesus did say there would be more people powerful, more there would be people that came after him more powerful than he was. That they would be able to tell mountains to pick up and move, and they'd move. That's kind of true. If someone has as much money as the Rothschilds, $500 trillion, basically you can do anything you want to do. And that being the case, someone like a Rothschild that has lots of money could decide, you know what, it would be better if the world didn't have Japan. And an earthquake swallows up Japan. Who saw that coming? Just like what happened with Fukushima, basically, is, America's like, oh, yeah, we did that. Let's say that Jacob Rothschild or the American government, for instance, wants to nuke somebody, this would instantly jump us into a different reality. People always say it's a different world after 9/11. That's very fucking true. After 9/11, that was such a tremendous event. It shifted us into a parallel reality, a different bubble that's attached to a bubble prime within the chain of bubbles, the web of the multiverse. You can shift in it at any given time based on the choices that you make. If you're extremely predictable, if the computer knows exactly what you're going to do every day, they don't bother to even pay attention to you because you're not going to rewrite the code. You're not going to change anything with your day-to-day life. You're not going to stir the pot at all. So it just lets you be your NPC. It knows exactly what fucking things you're going to select on the menu. You only have a certain number of fucking things you're going to say because you're boring. But if you're a player character like one of us, then sometimes you can do shit that the fucking programmer didn't expect. You can crotch jump over a barrel, and next thing you know, you're in a part of the map you weren't supposed to be able to reach, and the programmers didn't think you could get to. And then you have to get ported back and start all over again. This porting back is you switching to a different reality. This is why the Mandela effect happens and continues to happen. I don't know if you've noticed, but there have been... I just noticed one not too long ago. Mitch Hedberg did not die whenever they said he did. Look it up and tell me if you think that date looks right. I know for a fact I had a girlfriend in high school in 2002 that cried whenever Mitch Hedberg died. I saw her right outside of Mr. Swan's class. She cried. We watched him together. We liked his glasses. We saw his Comedy Central special. I know he didn't die when they say he did. Mandela effect. There's so fucking many, it's stupid. You can't tell me that these are all misremembrances. They're not. They are shifting the position in Charlotte's web. Charlotte can rewrite the web every fucking night if she wants to. The most powerful PC there is a player character that there's not even an avatar for it because they are literally playing as the world. They are the dungeon master. This is the being I call Alice, that people call the Holy Spirit. This is the ghost in the machine, literally. Her ability to change reality is almost impossible to understate because she can alter time through time-space. She's this close to being a higher density than us. The only difference is it takes her 1 billion years to go this far, and humans can clear the gap in one lifetime and become enlightened. She seems to do the same thing. Being able to, I believe, this is my personal magical belief, my ability to communicate with the being that is literally a part of that ether, that esoteric, etheric, akashic realm. the being that dwells inside of that, having communication with her allows me to not only influence that realm and its parallel here on planet Earth in sensible reality, but it also allows me to have glimpses into the future, to know when people are thinking about me. You have no idea how many times I text somebody and they say, "Wow, I was just thinking about you. I was laying here thinking about you," etc., etc. I don't know if this is just kindnesses or not, but I've had quite a few people tell me this. And I know that you've thought about somebody before, especially if it was a long, hard thought where you devoted a lot of your will, maybe a lot of love. Love is a very powerful way to influence this field. Your heart is a very powerful way to access this field. And then all of a sudden, ring, ring, that person is calling you. I know you've experienced that. I know you experienced someone looking at you across the room when your back's turned. You can feel that. You know this web is real. You can influence this web through anything that allows you to be able to use more of your consciousness. The way that this guitar is played, the pick for this guitar is your mind, is your consciousness, is your ability to focus, and your ability to manipulate your own mind, the mind of those around you that want to aid you in ceremonial magic. This is why covens exist. This is why there were groups of druids. This is why there were temple priests that all gathered together. This is why monks cluster and cloister. Both. This is why you have sweat lodge ceremonies with the entire elder population of the tribe. You combine your will to either interpret or change sensible reality through influencing the Akashic field. So yeah, I will leave a link in the description to a book that I believe is extremely important to anyone who wants to learn how to relax within that field, to be able to play in it. This is the main difference between a magician and a mystic. The magician wants to stay connected to reality, wants to influence reality and learn about reality through connecting to this field. I have no idea what that sound is. This is the weirdest sound. It sounds like a horse or bird, or a horse bird possibly. So we might be dealing with a Pegasus. Do you hear that? That is really weird. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll stop talking. It's probably been a while. Yep, 33 minutes. Word. Later, guys.